the kitchen of intrigue, Curt Jackson and Chris Kal-El are cooking up a batch of mystery soup.
Each episode serves a new blend of tips, tactics, trends, and tales from the business and design sides of the escape room world.
So grab your spoon, because this episode starts in 3, 2, 1.
Mystery Soup.
Welcome back to Mystery Soup. I'm Curt, and I'm here with my co-host, Chris Kal-El. How you doing, Chris?
Good. It's getting warmer out here in central Indiana.
Like warmer.
Indiana.
What does warmer mean?
I don't know. It just keeps changing. We're in the Midwest. So it's beautiful like last week, and now this week it's cold again. I need to stay warm so I can keep getting ready for the summer. And we're getting there.
Bring out those shorts. Are you wearing shorts yet?
Last week I did, and it's back to cold again this week. So I needed to. When the shorts, I'm surprised you didn't know I had shorts on last week, Curt, because the light coming off of my legs should have reached down to Florida.
Well, this episode, we have a special guest from the sanctuary, Louie Hernandez. Welcome, Louie.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Been looking forward to this since March?
Yeah, we had to reschedule.
Because you had an issue pop up. You had a tree come through your window.
That's right. And you were going to Trans World, right? Yeah. How was that?
It was great, man.
Really?
I had been there for 7 years. When you were in the haunt industry, you went, but then once, I think I just didn't want to go because it's just money and just time to get up there. But after 7 years, it's like, it's time to go back and see a bunch of faces that I haven't seen in a while, other than just like on Facebook and whatever. But it was great, man, just to get up there and meet a bunch of fellow haunters that, that you only get to see once a year because, the rest of the year, there's build season, then it's haunt season. And so it's just a big party weekend. That's all it really is.
Nice. Well, give us a background on your haunt stuff and just who you are in general.
It's a funny story because I actually, if you have to rewind back to 2012, when I was actually working for the Federal Aviation Administration. I was doing human resources. Before that, I was in the U.S. Coast Guard for 7 years. But I had to get out because me and my ex-wife had separated. And long story short, I had just got orders to Alameda, California. And I was supposed to leave. Once we separated, I couldn't leave my kid behind. I made that decision I didn't want to be that 1 month out of the year dad. So I was like, let me get out and do something different, and got into the FAA for a while, pay the bills, pay the child support, do all that fun stuff. But, it did what it was supposed to do. And it was in 2012 that the Sanctuary Haunted Attraction opened their doors. We were going to another haunt that night, and I saw the building. And I said, holy cow, what is this? Because it was a massive 5-story building, and it just looked like every room was alive. Every floor was alive. And I was like, wow. The building was old, but they were open the next weekend. So the next weekend we go, little bit, and I was blown away. Every floor told a story, which it was, and it was centralized around one theme. It wasn't the Freddy Kruegers in one room, ghosts in another room, clowns over here. It wasn't this Mod Podge of what people are used to. It was just gradual storytelling on every floor. I was blown away. I went back the next weekend, and after that, I literally reached out to him, message, man, I would love to be a part. I would do anything. I want to be a part. This is this because I've always wanted to do in the haunt industry. Just you don't know where to start. Never got back to me. And I was like, all right, they're busy, whatever. And then you fast forward into November of that same year of 2012, they put on a Christmas themed haunted attraction. And I was like, this is freaking nuts. I'd never heard of this. So I became like just this woodpecker, just banging, just constantly trying to contact them until finally Tino got back to me. And he said, hey, thanks for reaching out. Let me give you the number of my wife, and you'll work with her to come up. Send me the number. I started messaging, nothing. So I messaged him back, say, hey, no one's messaging me back. And he goes, oops, I gave you the wrong phone number.
Oh, gee.
And I go up there, and so I got to see behind the scenes stuff. And I was like, oh, man, I remember that. And I said, what do you want me to do? And he's, go hang Christmas lights over here. Done. Went, hung them up really quickly, came back. Okay, what do we need to do now? And he just looked at me oddly, and I'm like, I don't what? He's like, can you go put this together? I was like, yeah, went, did that. And just come to find out that he didn't have good helpers
Mhm.
around him. He had people who wanted to be a part, but didn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So immediately after that, I acted that year, and then they did a Valentine's one, same thing. I came in,
Huh.
and he immediately saw that I would get rid of people if they weren't there to help work. I was like, man, Curt, are you here to help, or are you here just to jack around? Oh man, I'm not really
Yes.
here to do much. I said, you know what? Kind of need you to leave because we're really busy and we don't need to be distracted. And so Tino was like, I need to keep this guy around me. When you put us side by side, we're polar opposites of each other.
Mm.
He's the good cop. I'm the bad cop. I'm the guy that will say you need to go and whatever. So immediately he made me his right hand. And I was still learning because I wanted to do set design and everything. So I was learning from some of the artists that were there too already.
Mhm.
So you fast forward into 2016. We moved to a new location, a new haunt, and he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of escape rooms?" And at the time, they were brand new. I think there was maybe a handful here in Oklahoma City, and I said, I had heard of them. You want to go into business and open up an escape room? I was like, let's go down to my buddies in Baton Rouge, Dwayne, almost 13th Gate.
Mhm.
It's like, all right, cool. Let's go check it out. And at the time, Dwayne had only 2 games. He had the Death Row and the Collector.
Okay.
And the only 2 games they had there. Like Anubis, I walked into Anubis when it was just plywood and sawdust everywhere, right? Played those games. And then he goes, let's go to Davy's place, who owned Rise Haunted Attraction and Rise Escape Rooms. Same thing. We went there, and what blew me away was we played. Now Dwayne owns it now, but at the time he had a flight 13, whatever it was, airplane
Right.
fuselage. Walked in, sat down. It felt just like he sat down in an airplane. I was like, man, this is freaking insane. Played the game. The whole thing's tilting as you're playing the game, and I'm blown away by this thing. I'm like, I said, Davey, show me how this works. And he goes, oh yeah, come on to the back. And he showed me how the whole thing sat on this hydraulic system, which is a hit of a joystick. The whole room is tilting. And I looked at him and said, are you freaking serious? This is all it is. And so on the drive back, I told Tino, I said, man, we can do this. We can set design. All we got to do is freaking add puzzle. That's it. And he's like, all right. Here's the kicker is at the time I was still working at the FAA. So I couldn't do a full-time gig and own an escape room.
Right.
And so after about a month of just going back and forth, I walked away from a well-paying gig with the FAA
With
because I
benefits
was
and
bored.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
the pay, the benefits, it was cubicle life, making big rocks into little rocks every day. And I was so bored, cashed in my retirement and just put it all into the escape rooms.
Wow.
And then we opened in 2017, and you fast forward to now.
That's
we're doing-
crazy. That's good.
it's-
So
it-
is the sanctuary, like the haunt, still going?
it went dormant after we moved in 2018, I'm sorry. We closed the doors because we've been open roughly 2 years at the old location with the escape rooms. The outlet mall, the corporate office in Chicago reached out to us and they said, hey, what would it take to open up a second location of escape rooms here at the outlet mall or for you guys to move? And we just happened to be in negotiation with the old place for rent to renew the contract. So we were like, this is what it's going to take to get us to move. We gave them this. I kid you not. It was like maybe 5 months of negotiating. Our lawyer came back and I've never seen in the history of me doing these contracts. He goes, I've never seen the big guy bow to the little dude. It's always in reverse. He said, but these guys want you really bad because there was a lot of things like give us a build out period. Don't charge us rent.
Right.
Leave us alone. Because you guys came to us, give us a freaking chance. And they did. I mean, it was insane.
That's awesome.
And so the haunt went dormant because they were both at the same location. And so my partner, he's been looking for a new place to build, to open up a new haunt.
Okay, so that's still in the
It's
works.
still in the air. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because the place you have at the outlet mall, you got high ceilings and a lot of space to work with.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah. And it's pretty crazy because I mean, you've been there and it's 6,000 square feet, 20-foot ceilings, and we're about to max out that space. And it's
Yeah.
like, man,
Oh, wow.
it's still small, but compared to when we got it, it was just, the whole thing was just open warehouse. There was nothing in there when we took that space over, but that was what we wanted because they showed us a couple of other spaces, but they were like 10-foot ceilings, but like really wide, or 10-foot ceilings and really long. So none of the spaces really worked. We're like, none of this works. And they said, well, let's show you this other space. And it was their storage facility. We walked in, and of course, all their stuff was stored in there. High ceilings were like, nice.
Right.
6,000 square foot, just from wall to wall,
Wow.
nothing in the middle. This is going to work. Don't show your cards.
Right.
And they did. They gave us, even after COVID, even after we opened in March of 2020, we opened like March 1st of 2020 and got shut down March 18th of 2020. After 9 months of building. It was crazy. I mean, the cool part is the Dutchman that you guys played is an expanded version of the original game. So we made it bigger. We made it more over the top.
Right.
Because that was one of the things was I wanted to retire La Familia and the Dutchman, but Tino, we got to keep him around because not everyone's ever played this thing. We're like, all right, good idea. How do we recapture? I want those fans back, right? And sure enough, as soon as we opened, we were sold out all over again. Like we never missed a beat.
And your son works with you now, right?
Yeah. You met him, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. He's one of the managers there. He's been with us since he was in high school back at the old building. He wants to follow the footsteps of running a business, but he wants to do more on the investing side.
He seemed like you really enjoyed working there. So yeah.
He loves the hours, and it's very much, he just likes being there. And my daughter works there too. She's one of the game masters. She mostly works the evening shifts on the weekends and stuff like that because she's in school. But same thing, she just likes being there.
So I've never been. Tell me a little bit about the Sanctuary Escapes. What all games y'all got?
So right now we've got 3 games there. We have the Lost Dutchman's Mine, it's the flagship game. It's the game that we literally opened the doors with, and which really blew people away with. Spoiler alert, it's a multi-room game. And here in Oklahoma, up to that point, there was no multi-room. It was 1 room, maybe 2 rooms if you were lucky. So people come here to our place and they're like, this game just keeps going and going and going. There's no end to it. And so we quickly gained traction like that. And then we followed it up about a year later. We followed up with La Familia, which is our mafia themed game, which is funny because when we go back to 2016, when we're designing these things, La Familia was the first game we thought about because I love organized crime, The Godfather. I'm watching The Sopranos again for like the 11th time. So it was the first game we thought about, but it was the second game we built because he found the story of the Lost Dutchman, which is an actual mine in Arizona that they've never found. And we turned it into a game. And people who live around the superstitious mountains of Arizona who've heard of the Lost Dutchman's mine, so they go, it's almost like it's a museum in your game because you guys have captured so much of the lore of this mine in your game. It's incredible. And then the newest one that we came out with a year and a half ago, which is the Seed of Hope, which is that thing took us 2 years to build because it was just so over the top. The expectations that the fans had, because the Dutchman and La Familia were here as far as people's expectations, what they wanted. Seed of Hope had to raise the bar, it had to do more. So, it was A
Did it
lot of
though?
pressure.
Did you? That's pressure you put on yourself. You wanted
is.
to raise the bar.
We had to raise the
That's right.
bar.
Good
I'll
for
be
you.
honest. Yeah, we had to outdo ourselves. We had
Right.
to. Which is, hopefully, Chris, you get to come play because it's, you play the Dutchman, you play La Familia, and you're like, man, these things are insane. How can you outdo it? How does the Seed of Hope outdo it? And then you play Seed of Hope, like that game is insane. So it's okay. We got 2 more games. We got to try to outdo the Seed of Hope, or at least meet that same level of the other 2. And then we've got 2 games that we're literally building right now that will open in one, maybe July, August. And then the last one will open up sometime in the winter, and then we'll be done with that facility.
I'm gonna need like the wuss version because I don't do anything scary.
You see, the thing about Seed of Hope is that it's the right amount of creepiness.
Creepy. Yeah.
It doesn't. Now, I will say in October, we did do the Halloween Seed of Hope version,
Oh.
and we made it 10 times scarier. Like we had grown men screaming, falling on the floor.
Hey, listen, I do that.
It was insane, but they loved it. One lady literally came out of the game. She ran to the bathroom and threw up because she was so terrified.
Oh my God.
We had some people who couldn't even move because they
And
were
you're like,
so scared.
They got their money's worth.
Selling me. You're totally selling me.
But it was because we were able to take what we learned from the haunt industry and apply it into this game, and we were able to scare effectively. So we'll do it again this October, but we're gonna make it even scarier because I learned what people were doing in there the first time around on how they played an escape room with fear in there, because the Seed Hope is set in an orphanage. So it automatically creeps people out because
that's already
it's an
creepy.
orphanage. and so it just psychologically it already messes with people like that. So when it comes to the Halloween time, we just ramp up everything. And the crazy part is when we did that announcement for the Halloween version, like we did an announcement on Tuesday, we said go online Friday and buy your tickets. When Friday came, halfway through the day, the entire weekend was sold out. And people were at their computers waiting to book the dang game. And it was sold out. It was insane, but people loved it.
There were things in Seed of Hope that I have to this day haven't seen in an escape room, and I'm nearing 500 rooms. But there was a certain effect that it happened, but we didn't know how it got triggered until after when we were told. And then when we were told, we were like, oh, that makes sense. That's so cool. But yeah, if you haven't played, you definitely have to go. I'm not going to spoil anything because you need to experience it yourself. I mean, what's interesting is that you guys come up with like good puzzles. How do you do that? How is that design process?
Pretty much in the Dutchman, which takes place in the 1800s. So it's log cabin. So we stick with what would have existed during that time. So all the research goes into, like, when the Dutchman was being created, I watched movies like Tombstone, Deadwood, just stuff, and just stared at the background, like, what could we use? What made sense? And when you throw in the mythical aspect of the Apache Indians and the spirits and all that stuff, okay, we can make things move because you put a horn back somewhere, it makes something happen. So it feels part of the game. Whereas La Familia, set in the 70s, is more, may have a combo lock here or two, but there was a lot of stuff because when it comes to designing these puzzles, we really stick to what would have been around during that time frame to make sense.
So you go with the set design first and then build the puzzles based on what you have.
Right.
Haunt builders, I saw it going across the country. Haunt builders know set design. They know what they're doing. 13th Gate, you guys, Netherworld. I mean, you're just like, okay, they know how to do it. And not all of them can do puzzles well, though, for story. And another thing with Seed of Hope is that you have a way where you keep the story going without live actors, which is impressive because usually a live actor will come and carry the story through. Not usually, but on a lot of these. But you have a certain way that you do it.
When the idea of Seed of Hope it's a game that sat in my head that I started coming up with back in December of 2018. That's when I really started to think about the Seed of Hope. Didn't have a name, but I knew I wanted to make a horror themed game. But it was like, that was about it. And it wasn't until we started building the thing that was like found footage, and it is one of my favorite genres in the horror. How do you do a found footage escape room game that makes
Right.
any sort of sense that people will be able to stay focused in, and everyone loves it. Some people will they'll start watching something and they'll be like, this is a freaking production. This is insane. I really feel we have some people that they don't come to play. They literally come to just take in the ambiance. There's this one dad who's come back 4 or 5 times, and he sits in the study where the fireplace is, where the big fireplace is. He sits down in that chair and he just kicks back and he just listens to the ambiance, the storm, and he just looks at the camera. He's love this place. And even in the Dutchman, people do that on La Familia. Sometimes they just go and they just hang out in the ambiance because they just want to be in there again. And it's like, y'all are
cool.
crazy.
So it's like, where do you get these skills from to build that kind of ambiance?
So some of it was self-taught, just what I want to do. But recently here in Oklahoma, the movie industry is starting to really pick up steam. To shoot movies and TV shows here in Oklahoma City. And I want to say it was in 2022, Prairie Surf, which is a soundstage here in Oklahoma City, was doing a workshop for set building. And I was like,
cool.
This is perfect. Let me go and just sign up so I can learn, right? It was the wrong kind of workshop. It was a beginner's workshop.
Yeah.
Someone is struggling to put glue on a piece of wood. I'm teaching people how to roll paint on a wall. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I saw?
You signed up to be an instructor.
Yeah. So after that, we built a set, and then we took it over. It was like a hospital set, right? And we took it to the soundstage and we set it up. And halfway through the thing, one of the directors, he's, hey, this was supposed to have a window here. Can you cut a window in here on this wall? And can you put a door in over here? And me and this other guy, Tempest is his name, we looked at each other. Yeah, we can freaking do it. And, I just took my skills on, just with the wall already up, just got my measurement and just cut it out. Meanwhile, Tempest is working on the door, and they loved how we worked. And they said, you guys want to come back for another? They were going to shoot a small movie on that hospital scene. We're like, yeah, sure. So you can see what it's like working on set. And we did. They're like, we can't put Louie over here. Let's put him with the electrical. And I was like, all right, cool. And again, it was the same freaking things. Like, okay, can someone make that outlet hot? Everyone looked at each other. And I don't like doing electrical stuff. Tino does all that stuff because I get nervous. But I have watched him so much. Just to turn a socket from dead to live, I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, here, guys, this is the way this happens. And, so we did that. And it was after that a movie that came out about a year and a half ago. I don't know if you saw it. It came on theaters. It was called Nefarious. It was a horror themed movie about a guy on death row, the possession type movie. And they called me. They said, if I want to work on set. And I'm like, I would love to, because I get to actually go from being the guy to being the nobody. So I could learn. I get on set, build this insane prison. And it was incredible. I have yet to put that on my YouTube page because I want to show the creation of this prison because it's so freaking neat. And then that's when I met Matt Payne, who is the CEO of Prairie Surf. He's like, you're Louie. And I was like, yes, I am. And good to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And then came back with those set of skills, applied it to the escape rooms.
Nice.
And then Matt texts me 6 to 8 months later. He goes, you need to get on board with this next project. And I said, what's the project? And he said, I can't tell you, but here's a trailer. And it was Tulsa King, the Sylvester Stallone series that came out on Paramount Plus. And I was like, oh, God, this is a multi-million-dollar budget. And I got nervous, but it was awesome because I got to go and work under people. My mentor had 30 years in the movie industry. So he worked on National Treasure, the Marvel series, the Spider-Man series. This dude has so much knowledge, right? And I showed him pictures of the Dutchman. He's like, oh, that's cute. And I'm like, man, what the heck? How can I make this better? And he was like, do this,
Wow.
add this. And the art department is all behind me. And I'm looking at them like, how did you guys do that? How did you guys do that?
You
And
just
at
soaked
first
it
they
all
weren't-
up.
Oh, at first they weren't wanting to tell me because I was like, why are these guys sharing info? But it wasn't until I realized that I was like, I don't want your job, guys. I don't
Right.
want job. Let me show you what I do. And so I showed them pictures of the escape rooms and whatever. And they were like, oh, so you want to just apply this back where you do? And I was like, yes. Pandora's box.
Nice.
They were showing me all different types of distressing techniques, aging techniques, just different things.
Oh.
And so I got all their info. I networked like crazy. And so when I came back after working on Tulsa King, we turned because at that time, Seed of Hope was still being created. And it was this nice Victorian look. And I said, okay, we're going to age the heck out of this thing because of what I learned. All the paint that when you walked into the playroom or the study and the paint all cracked and it's peeling. We started applying all that stuff and it just started to change before our eyes that when Tino finally came back, he was on a vacation. He walked in, he's holy cow, this is freaking nuts. He goes, you guys
That's
even
awesome.
captured the aging of the stairs. That looks like people were walking up those stairs for hundreds of years. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, in a nutshell, I learned a lot from in the haunt industry, but having those connections in the movie industry. And at any time I need a question, I'll text Glenn or one of these other guys, hey, what would you do with this material? And they'll say, do this, add this, and you'll get this look.
Not everybody can do that, right? Not
Yeah.
everybody has those opportunities.
I know.
So somebody like me who has limited skills in these areas, what would you recommend? How do we get the skills, or do we just hire it out?
Everyone wants those killer looking sets and whatever.
Sure.
If you can't do it yourself, but you're bent on making this look, then you might have to contract to bring somebody in. There's one group that came in 2 weeks ago to play at our place, and they're possibly want to open their escape rooms. They're like, but we can't compete with this.
Right.
I'm like, don't compete with this. Is not a competition. There's how many burger places are here in Oklahoma City? Everyone has their preference of burgers. Come up with a good story, have some fun puzzles, and that's it. If you can't set design, do what you can. If you need help, maybe you can contract to have people come in. But it just depends. I mean, a good framer, that's probably one of your best things because the framers can do some really interesting things. I want a secret door over here that kind of does this. They can come up with it.
Yeah. You do what Chris does. He goes down to Menards and he's, hey guys, this is what I want to do. Help me.
I sat in the pipe department for about 20 minutes one day because I was trying to build slingshots out of pipes for the camp that I work at. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just going to sit here and figure it out. And they let me. So
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
really used to it. I want to talk about your games a little bit. You have a couple, like you have this 4-person minimum for your rooms. Did you plan it that way? Was that something in the design prospect, or do you see like some pros and cons to that? Why the 4-person? What's your thoughts on that?
Originally, at the old location, there was a puzzle in there. If I'm thinking correctly, if I'm remembering, you could play the Dutchman with 3 players. But then then at La Familia, you'd be able to play with 2. But then when we moved locations, we added puzzles in there. From a business standpoint, we got to make money on these things. How do you make money besides just cramming everyone in there? In our heads, we've got to justify the 4-player minimum. So like in the Dutchman, there's 2 puzzles specifically that you need 4 people to pull off physically, right? In Seed of Hope, you need 4 players for one particular moment, but it's justified within the story. What happens, why you got to go, all 4 players got to go do something different. We build it within the game to have the 4-player minimum for those 2. La Familia, we've seen groups of 2 go in there and try it. It's just the La Familia, it's a pretty big game for 2 players. You just have to keep moving nonstop. But it's mostly honestly, it's a business standpoint. We need to be able to make money on these things. And 2 players, even if it's $50 a player, it's only $100, but of the way we staff everything, man, we lose money on this game if it's a game on a Wednesday and 2 people want to come play. if we get a group of 2 that want to come play, kind of what Curt did, we set it all up to where it's only 2 of us. I couldn't find anybody to join Curt, so I just had my staff join them at those moments.
We couldn't find anyone. We tried, and Louie tried to help us out as well, and we definitely need to. Through La Familia, we got through. We just couldn't get the safe open.
Dang safe.
Oh my God. Every time we see a safe, we're just like, for some reason, we got this block where we just cannot do them. Chris always plays with his wife, and I play with Tina. And so whenever we see that 4-person minimum, either we go, maybe we'll reach out and ask if it can be play with 2. And a lot of times we just skip it. We're just like, unless we're up with them or they're down here with us, then we'll do it. But normally we just like, we're not going to be able to make this happen. And I know we miss out on some really good games, but you guys put a lot of money into it.
Yeah.
You have, like you said, you have moments that you need 4 people by design. And they're big productions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. They are. I think the only real con of it is, 2 people or 2 people call in, they want to really play. Man, you have to book the 4-player minimum so we can make the money. You can show up and we can staff it to help you out, but they'll be like, no, it's okay. So we might lose money because they don't want to do it. I think a lot of it is as these games continue to evolve, players like yourselves, these expectations start to get really big and they want their bang for their buck.
Mhm.
They want these over the top productions, and it's okay. We can make them. We can do all this crazy stuff. On the business side, we need to make a couple bucks and keep the lights on. Maybe put some frozen vegetables in my ramen at night.
We definitely played small games that we've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Too. I feel like hot builders are the ones who go big.
So a fun nugget on the Seed of Hope is all those drawings that are on the walls. That's all my nieces and nephews.
Yeah, that's so
And,
cool.
The record that my son wrote the lyrics to for both songs, my nephew sung those. There's a lot of family in this particular game.
It's so cute and creepy at the same time.
It is. Like Tino's brother did the music for those 2 songs. So after it was recorded, then he started to add the music to it. So there was a lot of family involvement. Like Tino's son did some of the programming for the computer monitor that you interact with in the game. He did that part. So there's a lot of family that put their hand in this particular game.
Let's talk about La Familia. My favorite part was the alley, just from a scenic. It was so cool. What was the inspiration for that?
So I'm a big Disneyland guy.
Okay. Yep.
I'm a big Disneyland guy. And there's this little cul-de-sac on Main Street that a long time ago, the family were shopping. It was the end of the day. And I got a coffee and I sat down in this little cul-de-sac and I just sat back and the neighbors were all talking. And when you start listening, you hear the dentist, you hear this guy going off over here. You hear this person working on a clock. And I'm listening to them all. I'm like, this is so freaking cool. It's stuff that a lot of people probably never even noticed. Right.
Well, I've been going to Disneyland like all my childhood because I grew up in Southern California. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean,
it's cool.
Those little Easter eggs that you find and you just enjoy. So that always stuck with me, always. So when we moved from the old location to this one, we're like, okay, La Familia's got to be bigger. What do we want to do? I told Tino, I was like, we need to have an alley. And I said, and we need the neighbors to talk to each other. And then he was like, all right, let's freaking do it. And so, yeah, that alley, as soon as the initial walls were up, that alley was the first thing we started working on because it was the most labor intensive thing to get that alley all the way up
to
the ceiling, the roof of the building itself, and to make it feel like an alley, and the smells and the look and everything that went into that alley. So it's fun because every time people open that door, they look and they're like, did they literally take us outside? So people get really lost in it, which is always cool. It's always cool when people forget where they are, that they're really so invested in where they're at that they forget that they're in an outlet mall.
It's such a great addition. Perfect addition. Yeah.
So y'all are in an outlet mall? Like that's your location?
Yeah, it's we've been there, like I said, since 2020, and it was the outlet because malls are like a dinosaur. Amazon, everything online killed the mall industry. So the malls are trying to put. I'm sure you guys have them too. At the malls, there's besides movie theaters, there's a massive arcade. There's a bowling alley.
Like
There's
experiences.
different, yeah. And
Mhm.
so escape rooms, like there's two malls that have the red door escape rooms, and
Mhm.
they've got breakout. And so when the outlet mall out here contacted us, they had looked at the franchises. They literally looked at everything around Oklahoma before they looked in Oklahoma. But one person was like, we need to contact the sanctuary. And so when they
Mm.
contacted us, and like I told you guys all earlier, what led to that?
Yeah.
So when we went to the outlet mall, none of those spaces fit until we saw that warehouse. And it's very deceiving. When you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look like a big space. But once you get in the game and you're going through these different games, like these guys, these games are so freaking massive. So yeah, we're in an outlet mall and it's cool because we face away, the front door faces away from the inside of the mall. So we have crowd control over to people are just opening and closing the
Mhm.
doors. That was
That's
one of the,
true.
that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that when they asked us, what do you guys want? We were like, don't touch anything. Just build me a door that faces that way.
Mm.
And they were like, "Why?" I was like, "Because I don't want this door opening and my staff have to be paying attention to the door 24/7 when we're open." And once in a while, we'll get people that peek their head in when they're walking by, but it's
Peek their head in and a big eye peeks right back. That big eye is really cool that's in your
yeah.
lobby. Uh,
Have you had a lot of walk-ins, or is it still mostly because of since the door faces the other way, it keeps it pretty well just people that sign up?
Once in a while, we'll get walk-ins, and that's one of the things going to your question about the 2-player versus the 4-player minimum, because most of the time people are shopping, it's usually 2 people,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And they walk in, but most of the time, all the 3 games are sold out on a Saturday. And so they'll walk in, "You got any openings?" They're like, it's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon." I was like, "We got a
Mhm.
10 o'clock available." And they're like, "Really?" "Yeah, everything's booked online." Now, once in a great while, there might be a spot open, and we was like, "You can play La Familia," and we'll go over with them that, and they're like, "Sure, yeah, let's try it." So
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
do get some walk-ins, but not a ton.
Plenty of parking. That's good.
Plenty. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you wish you would have known before starting an escape room business?
The money doesn't come fast as soon as you open a business. You know,
True.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest thing is that when you go do this, kind of like I did, you go from a salary making a really good living to this, and you open the doors, and on the weekend you might get 3 bookings. You're like, oh my gosh, what did I just sign up for?
So a lot of people keep their day
Current
jobs,
Yeah,
jobs.
and yeah,
yeah,
Tina's gonna have to keep working while I build and run the business. So
yeah. So yeah, I think that's the main thing was like it's a marathon.
yeah.
You can't sprint this thing. You really have to just go in knowing that this is going to be a grind. And I think also it would be probably just more marketing before you're opening because we really didn't do a whole lot of
Mm.
advertising and whatnot before we opened the door. So when we opened the doors, it's small trickling
Hmm.
in at the old location. Now when we moved here, we already had a following, so people were coming in like crazy to play us. But originally it was, I think if we had advertised more, it would have helped more. But we were so caught up in trying to get the game built so we can.
What advertising works for you guys?
The biggest thing is word of mouth.
Yeah, sure.
And once in a while, Tino will run a Facebook ad
Okay.
and really push out something. We'll do a survey when people come in. Hey, have you been here before? No, this is the first time. Oh, okay, cool. How did you guys hear about us? One of the staff made up a sheet for us on Google that we can just have people, whether it was Yelp or Google or word
Mhm.
of mouth or whatever, so we can keep these statistics to see what's working. And the biggest advertising is word of mouth and then Google when people are Googling escape room. It helps to have really good reviews because we were at the very top and people are like, you guys have the best reviews. That's why we're here.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any tips or tricks for new owners?
Man, we had owners literally open their doors less than a month ago. And unfortunately, these owners they're in their late 70s.
Oh, wow.
Right? And they did it because I think they had played La Familia at the old location. So they haven't even been to our new location. And so, my staff went to play, felt bad for them because I think they were in over their heads. So if new owners were starting out, not like Curt, because Kurt's been around the block for a minute, but like new people, I always tell people, it's like, meet other owners, play all their games, and ask stinking questions. Ask, like 11th Hour is a perfect example up in Tulsa. They were players first that wanted to open their open escape room. They played both of our games at the O location. And then they came back like a couple weeks later and they said, this is unconventional, but can we see how you do behind the scenes stuff? And we're like, yeah, sure. Come on in.
Cool.
And they're like, really? It's no freaking secret on how to use the technology. This is the way we utilize this technology to do what we wanted over here. And they literally behind the scenes a whole day. So from a building standpoint, one of the funniest ways at the old location, the snake doors used to go this way. They used to open that way. Tino's dad came up with the idea of how to make those things open. Once the maglock releases, how do you make them open without using hydraulics or whatever? He literally had 2 pulleys inside a pipe, wires attached to old mag flashlights filled with bolt. It was heavy. And it would just open them.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it would just close them right back up. And we showed them that. They looked at us like, are you kidding me? No, it's really that simple. Just whatever you have. If you don't got a big budget, get freaking creative to make something open that easy. That's not super heavy. And they did. They saw so much video and footage and pictures of how we did things. And even they sat in on a couple of us running some games so they can see what it's like to staff something. And so up in Tulsa, they dominate Tulsa because they put a lot of stock into what they do, their set design, their storytelling, their puzzle, and they really care. Their first big, like, I don't know how long, it's been a couple of years, but they opened up one of their games called Cairo, which was Egyptian type of game. So they dove into the foam carving and all that stuff.
Wow. Okay.
But it's just, I think that's the biggest thing for new people. Go to some of the big production escape rooms if they're around. Most of them are cool. They're going to want to show you. If any new people are coming to us, we're like, yeah, come on in. We're available to walk you through and show you stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we want you to succeed. We want you, because if you're open, you're sending people to us that have never played, and vice versa. We're sending people to you because we know you care.
That's definitely been the theme of this podcast. Even as we talk to owners, everyone's like, man, if the escape room community does well, then we do well because people are excited to go to more escape rooms. If you have a junky room or you do it poorly, then we lose future escape room people. They're like, I'm never doing that again because it's
true.
So,
yeah. I mean, Curt was the one who put us, when he nominated Seed of Hope for the Triplica Award. And that's when, honestly, we don't really pay attention to that side of the escape room industry, the enthusiast side. We really don't pay a whole lot of attention to those different review pages and that exist out there. But after, Curt had nominated, we really started thinking about it. And like, you know what, we do have something really freaking cool. And then that's when, if you've heard of them, they're called the Room Escape Artists. They came up, and 4 of them came up. They play around the world, 2,000 games under their belt. And they were blown away by the Seed of Hope. Even the finale that you talked about.
I told you.
They all looked at each other and they were like, have you seen that anywhere that we've played? And they all looked just like, we've never seen that anywhere. And so I looked at Tino and I'm like, we need to start really flexing and really get out there, So it's been it's one of those things where, where we don't want to scare away new owners. No, we're fools because we want big rooms so we can do these massive, but you don't have to. Just have a good puzzle, have a good story, and make everything make sense. Do your thing, because if you're making money, we're making money. And because like Curt, when put Seed of Hope out there, people around the country had heard of us, but no one, like the people from Room Escape Artists, they were like, what does Oklahoma really have?
Right.
Could they really have anything of substance?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing with these other places trying to open is come see us. We're glad to help you and show you what we do, but don't open it thinking you're gonna start making a lot of money. There's a lot of stuff once the game's open that you have to keep running with. The upkeep of these games. So players keep coming back because your stuff's always working, you know?
Right. No, it's true. So share what you want about your upcoming rooms.
So the next two rooms, one of them is called Hammond, which is our nod to the Haunt, the Sanctuary Haunted Attraction, which is based on the story of Dr. Hammond, who is trying to find a cure for his alien wife. That's what the story of the Haunt is based around.
Okay.
And it's very psychological with the game, with the Haunt, whatever. We always wanted to do an escape room based on the Haunt. So it's not necessarily going to be scary. So Chris, you don't have to worry. It's not going to be
Perfect.
scary. But it's going to be now. I haven't heard of many escape rooms, but I know the Hex room at Crossroads Escapes does this, where all your players are separated at the very beginning, and they all got to work through their own puzzles. It's the story of this doctor who's trying to find the perfect body to put his brain back into. So, like, you know, with escape rooms, there's no replayability behind them as far as you go back and play it again and again. Unless you're like that guy who likes to come just to sit in the game.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of times once people play, they don't come back to play the same game. So this game is actually be replayable. You're going to play a different character 5 times and every room is different to keep them coming back again and again. So that one, a lot of the fans are very excited about.
You haven't played the Hex though, correct?
Yes. We did. We were able to play the Hex.
Oh,
And
you went out there to play Hex? Okay.
Well, we were out there. We went out there for La Familia. There's some footage that we shot out there because Tino has a lot of friends.
Okay.
So we shot some footage out there and we're like, and I said, let's go to Crossroads Escape because I've always wanted to play the Hex room. So we went and we played the Hex room and their circus game.
Okay.
That game.
Yeah, Funhouse.
The Funhouse. Yeah. Really cool because it was just locks, combo locks, key locks. That's all it was. But it was so well done. Because a lot of times people say, oh, lock after lock. But the way these guys did it, it was really well done.
Yeah, Hex is a neat game. And yeah, I like the idea because you're right. It's replayable. You
Right.
do need a certain number of people
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting.
And then the other one is called, the name of that game is called The Lake House.
Okay.
And that particular game is just a funny story. This third party company tried to come in and then we were going to use their product in this space that we had, but their product did not live up to what we needed because when we debuted it, we beta tested a handful of groups and every single one of those groups, they were like, you can't open this because this is going to kill your reputation. And we'd sunk a lot of money into this project. My staff went through it and they were just like, what the that but with the negative list was like this. The pros was like maybe this big. So we're
Wow.
like, yeah. So we scrapped that idea. Tino came up with the story of this lake house. So within this space, which lends itself perfectly to we're gonna walk in, it's gonna be a lake house. You know, I've been like this past week, I built this massive fireplace that goes all the way to the ceiling that will start getting all the concrete for it to make it look like a fireplace. But that one's gonna be really cool. A lot of special effects in that particular game for the space that we have. We're going all out because that's gonna be the smallest game at the facility, the lake house, which is funny to say because up to this point, the Dutchman was the smallest game there.
How many square feet?
This lake house
Yeah.
is 500 square feet.
Okay. I mean, that's,
It's still big.
It's big, right.
It's still a big
Yeah.
game as far as what we do. It'll be
Right.
the baby of the 5. So we have to okay, this game has to be up with its big brothers because these big brothers have a lot of space. They do every game does crazy stuff. This guy has to be able to compete and keep up with them. So we've really sunk a lot of ideas and special effects and the way we're going to tie all the puzzle into the game takes place in the 80s. So we have a little bit more flexibility of what we want to do with the game.
Cool.
So and as a matter of fact, when I'm done here, I'm going to go up to Tino's house. We're going to spend the day finishing out the brainstorming because the next, I think Wednesday, we're going to start pre-wiring the lake house. It's all framed out. It's all sitting there already. It's just now we just start pre-wiring where the camera's going to go, where some of the tech puzzles are going to go. So
Nice. Oh man.
Yeah.
Excited about that. Does Tino make good pizza?
They make really
Tino's-
good food. His dad, Dominic, his dad is from Italy. He's from the boot.
Awesome.
And so
Lord.
he came down here and when I don't like going to the house to eat all the time because it's an event when you go eat over there.
Very
You know,
Italian, huh?
and when he said, "Hey, come over to eat," I was like, "Man, I don't want to be there all day eating, man." Because they do all kinds of courses and it's all legit food. It's so freaking good. You can't help but gorge yourself.
That's hilarious.
I mean, the first time I went to his place, I had a clam linguine, right? It was phenomenal. And me, when I get a plate of food, Mexicans, we like to pile our plate high and deep. And I got this massive plate, and Tino's like, "Oof, man, you're gonna get hurt." I'm like, "Dude, I got this." That was like the first course. Then the meat came out, and then the main dish came out, and I was miserable after that. I could not get comfortable when I got home. So, we
It took you
but,
3 Spartan runs to work it
yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, when we go eat over there, it's it's an
It's an
event.
event. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
that's why I don't go all the time because I don't like to eat all day.
Love that.
Well, Louie, if people want to connect with you and learn some more and talk some ideas with you, what's the best way to connect?
So I have a lot of owners will do is they'll contact me on Facebook, Louie Hernandez on Facebook or Instagram. My Instagram page, I believe, is the Dark Side of Lou. And then even on YouTube, I've got a YouTube page, Dark Side of Lou. And right now on my YouTube page, I've been doing a lot of more obstacle course racing, but I actually have been putting together some video of some of the escape rooms being built. I just like the lobby being
Sweet.
created. I've had that on time lapse for 4 years. I've just never put it to a video or whatever.
Yeah, get that
No.
stuff up.
Ways that people can find me, of course, the main escape room page, the Sanctuary Escape on Instagram and Facebook is the way people can get a hold of us.
Yeah. And you got a TikTok too, right? You've been doing that?
Yeah, I've been piddling around on TikTok a little bit. That's a little bit out of my wheelhouse.
Reviewing some horror movies.
Yeah, it's Dark Side of Lou also on TikTok, but mostly that one is more horror movies that
Yeah.
have come out, or I'm ranking horror movies. But I'm still so new at that it took me a while to. Okay, Instagram is going to be more my obstacle course racing stuff. My Facebook will be just a culmination of everything. YouTube will do escape room stuff and obstacle course racing, and I'll fit some horror movie stuff in there as well. Because I'm not breaking that up into 3 channels. I asked that one time. I was like, "Should I break my YouTube into 3 different channels?" Which would be insane to try to run 3. They're like, "No, just make sure that when you talk that your
Organize it.
niche and your SEOs and all those specific
Yeah.
keywords fit so people can find you and whatnot." But it's like anything else, YouTube and stuff like that, it's a grind, man.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
So,
don't take too long learning TikTok because they just voted to ban it.
I
so-
know. I'll
It's
become
like-
a pro and then it's gone.
Yep.
Great.
true. True. Awesome. Thanks so much, Louie, for taking the time to do this with us.
No, man, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah.
My first
yeah.
podcast. So hopefully I don't sound foolish when I listen to this.
You did great. You did great.
Yes.
That's awesome.
All right. Anything else, Chris?
No, I will just sign off here, but it's been great. Thank you, Lou. This has been Curt and Chris. Thanks for joining in another scrumptious episode of Mystery Soup. Until our next culinary concoction, may your clues be clear and your escapes be triumphant. Keep puzzling, my friends.
See ya.
Mystery Soup.